What is up, guys? Your boy Gaggy, back at it again with a new video. And in this video, I bring you the creators of Indexcoop.com, ladies and gentlemen. They have two indexes. They have the DPI, which is for DeFi, and they have the MVI, which is the Metaverse index. Basically, these two indexes is very simple. What they do is they grab the best tokens out there, they put it into one token so that you, if you're new to the space, or if you don't want to handle multiple tokens, you can just buy one index token, and that way you're exposed to all these the values that are out there in DeFi and in the Metaverse. Now, they are sponsoring me in the MVI side of things. Of course, I'm in the Metaverse, gaming and stuff like that. And the reason I took the sponsorship, you guys know me, I don't take bullshit sponsorships, is because I think it's beneficial. There's a lot of noobs in my channel. Of course, people come here to learn, and buying multiple tokens at the same time in different chains, different blockchains, is very hard. It's very hard. I don't even do it myself. I literally stick to one or two or three at most, even if the other ones are good, because it's a lot to do. It's a lot. You got Solana, you got Binance, you got, Running Network, which is the actually one. You got the Ethereum. There's many tokens with a lot of value. And the MVI token, what it does is it actually captures all that value. And I think it's a beneficial token. Now, guys, thank you guys for doing this and sponsoring my channel. You guys been sponsoring me for a month, 2 months now. Welcome to the channel, and we're gonna talk everything that has to do with the Metaverse and gaming. They have their perspectives as well, so let's do this.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us. Easily the best intro that we've ever had. So yeah, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kagi.
Yeah, man. Look, I know you guys are not into the pumping business. We talked about this a lot, right? We don't want to be pumping here. We want to kind of explain what the MVI token is. I mean, I think I got it pretty well down. I think you guys started with the DPI token, which is the DeFi Pulse token. I actually invested in that one because I'm not into DeFi. So why would I go try to buy RAN, go try to buy SNX and all these tokens and keep up with them, when I can just buy one token that captures all the value. And I think for the Metaverse token with the MVI, I think it's a genius. It's a genius token, to be honest. And how do you guys think about this? How did that spark that idea?
Yeah, we can take you through that for sure. So initially, when the Indexcoop launched, the idea behind it is a DAO that is trying to make crypto investing simple, basically. So we're looking for, like you pointed out, with DeFi, can we have a token that holds a number of tokens within it, so you don't have to worry about picking winners or doing loads of research. And when it launched back in October, I was an early community member, and I put an idea on the forum, which was for a Metaverse index. And there was a lot of hype around NFTs at the time. So it was probably the first major hype cycle for NFTs. And people were really focused on that specifically. And I just looked around and thought, we can probably go a bit broader than just NFTs and look at the trend of our lives moving to be more in a digital environment. So whether that's business, socializing, entertainment. You saw people jumping on Zoom calls, people watching sport online, people jumping into these virtual worlds like Decentraland. So that idea went up in the forum. We left it for a little bit because we were focusing on that DeFi Pulse token, the DPI that you just talked about. That's our flagship product. And then when Verto, my fellow methodologist, came in sort of January, he had a look at it and helped out with some of the more objective criteria. So we went back around the loop on it, basically, and just really tried to push it. And we got some momentum from the community behind us, and we launched the token actually in April. So that's how it sort of came to be. And I think Verto can probably talk a bit more about how it actually works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's funny, the reason I sort of jumped on the idea and wanted to push it was because I felt like I should be investing in the space, but I was like, I have no freaking clue what's going on. I don't know which tokens to invest in. And we were spending so much time in DeFi that we just had no capacity, no time to look into Metaverse and try to understand what's happening. So it was almost like I was almost pushing for this index just so I can sort of buy it, right? And the way we do index products, whether it's sort of DPI or MVI, we try to come up with like objective criteria for token inclusion, right? So like we don't want to be sitting there looking at tokens and being like, oh, like I think this one is going to perform well, or I don't think this one is going to work. So we don't try to do that. We basically just try to say, okay, these are the inclusion criteria, right? Like it has to be certain market cap, it has to have certain amount of liquidity. For Metaverse, it needs to be in certain categories as classified by CoinGecko at the moment. Then we look at like DEX liquidity and other things, right? To like token history, team history, just try to make sure that like the token is safe and we can safely include it in the index, right? So generally, like that's how we approach it. We're not there to pick tokens. We're there to give everyone like simple passive exposure to a theme, which in this case is sort of the metaverse theme.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, do you guys, how do you, where do you guys manage these tokens? Because obviously you guys buy it, and then obviously the MBI is a reflection of those tokens that you guys have in what? In a vault? How does that work?
As far as I understand it, right? Because basically all of our infrastructure is built on set protocol. And my understanding is that all of those tokens sit inside a smart contract. Right? Anyone can have a look at it. Anyone can see what's in that account. And yeah, so
Okay, so
I
it's
think it's
clear.
sort of
Yeah.
equivalent to a vote, but yeah, it's
Okay, okay.
yeah, happy to share an address and you can have a look and see what's in it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's just out of so that people understand where is this value at, right? Because that's how indexes kind of work, right? Because this reminds me of the S&P. I think it's S&P 500. I never invested in the stock market, but I know there's a index in the stock market like that. And people say, yo, if you're not outperforming the index, there's no point of investing, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the whole point. And I think with the metaverse, you guys have a pretty. I'm looking at it right now. You guys have a pretty good setup right here. I mean, you got AXS, you got Illuvium, you got Audio, one of the biggest music platforms, and I love that you guys put this token that is not necessarily a game or a metaverse itself, but it is part of the metaverse. Music is huge in the metaverse, and audio is a huge platform, right? I actually follow a few artists from audio. We got Engine. I'm not really a big fan of Engine, but it doesn't matter. Engine is leading one of the leaders in the space. They have a bunch of games, right? In Engine, we got Lost Relics, we got Nine Lives Arena, we got so many Nest Tables. There's a bunch. There's a bunch there. Six Dragons as well. We got Mana as well by itself. Decentraland, like you guys said, that's a token for Decentraland. We got the Sandbox. The Sandbox, absolutely, in my opinion, undervalued. Still, that's like the Roblox to another level Roblox type of thing. We got Wax, which is cool because that is the ERC20 token for Wax blockchain. That is not the actual Wax token, of course. It would be the ERC20, which is a reflection of Wax. And then we got Rary, of course, something like OpenSea, almost like if OpenSea had a token, but Rarible. And then the Whale, which has a vault. Yeah, we got Rev for the car game. Meme, not really sure about that one. But yeah, you guys have really, really good tokens. We got DG, I think that's Decentraland Games, I believe, from Decentraland as well.
Yeah, Decentral Games.
Decentral Games, yeah. I think they have a casino, right? I think they do.
Yeah, they have a few casino venues in
That's incredible, bro. Like if you think
Decentraland.
about it, like that's the future of casinos online. That's
I think they're
insane.
also licensing their games. So like if you own
A
a
machine.
plot, yeah, exactly. You can. I'm not sure how. Like I'm not sure if you can put like one poker table in your like gallery or whatever. But if you have a bigger plot or a district, like they just started it, I'd say a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, where they started licensing that to venues that are not operated by them. So
Interesting. That's so interesting. Are you guys looking? I know you guys, said like you guys are, kind of new to this in terms of like why the reason you did it. Maybe you don't go that deep into this, but I'm sure now you guys, like we talked before we started this. You guys are looking into it a little bit deeper. Are you guys? How do you guys see the space? Because like, what's your perspective on this? The metaverse games. I mean, you put audio here. Why do you put all these elements together? I mean, it makes sense for me, but for the viewers, right? How does all that come together? Music, maybe art, memes. I think that's a meme token for like NFT memes. I think I don't remember meme very well, but I do remember it though.
Yeah, there's a lot to take in. I think you're right. Like we were playing catch up for the first couple of months, trying to get up to speed with the space, and along the way we've been trying to sort of write down our thoughts as well. We've written a few articles on some different bits and pieces, like the future of work, like the rise of that narrative, play to earn as a narrative as well. Like obviously that's massive, and you're just starting to see like traditional finance and VC funds begin to wrap their heads around that as well. So I think as a super high level, we just see this as like a way that people can create value for themselves without anybody telling them what they can or can't do in the future. Like who's going to be wanting to work for Uber, for example, when they can pick up their mobile phone and play Axie or Illuvium and earn a living from that? And
or
then
participate in something like YGG, right? In an organization that is a DAO, and then you're providing value in some type of like maybe kind of traditional. Maybe you have you're an accountant there, and then you're getting paid in YGG or something like that. I don't know if you guys looked into YGG, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've spoken to Gabby a bit. We actually we did have a proposal ready to go where we were going to jointly manage a scholarship series basically with them. We haven't quite got there with that yet, but it's passed our governance process in the Indexcoop. Yeah, so we're really excited about working with those guys, and obviously waiting for YGG to be 3 months old so that we can look at including it in the Metaverse Index as well. But yeah, it's really interesting that you say that, because I was looking into this recently, and it's like there's two different ways of like the work sort of comes out of the metaverse at the moment. And there's stuff like working in decentral games casinos where you can be a casino host, which is quite familiar to everybody. You go there for a couple of hours, you help people out and you get paid. But there's stuff like contributing to a DAO, which is totally new. And if you try and explain that to somebody who doesn't work in crypto, like they just haven't got a clue what you're talking about. So you see contributions to DAOs, like playing Axie Infinity, all of these new ways of creating value, which is what we're really super bullish on.
Curating music, in this case, audio. I mean, I'm sure there's a job in the audio platform of curating music, and that's important, right? Maybe, you go to Spotify and they have their own. I know how Spotify works because I had an artist signed with my brother back in the days, and there's this middlemans in Spotify that they're gatekeepers, and if they don't like you, or if they like you, could be both ways. Your future really depends on these gatekeepers. And I'm sure I'm not really deep into the audio platform, but if I really think about it, if it's a DAO, then you could have multiple people kind of curating music, and you could become a curator by saying, hey, I'm buying more tokens, and I want to have a say here. I want to have more of a say of what kind of music goes in, and everybody can have that participation if they're willing to put more time and money into the platform and say, hey, I want to say. And I think that's a beautiful thing, right? It's something never seen before. Like you said, the model's kind of there in other platforms, but it's very centralized, right? Now you have the opportunity to participate like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like it's interesting, right? If you think about metaverse, like play to earn, ownership economy, they all overlap. I can actually make a case for play to earn being part of ownership economy, right? Like you play the game, you get the token, you own part of the game. it is ownership economy, right?
Hmm.
So I think like when we think about metaverse, right, and you can say like, okay, Rari, right? It's an NFT marketplace, right? Like, does it need to be like what does that have to do with metaverse, right? And we try to think further, right? Like Rari is a platform, right? Like it's a protocol now. Other other protocols, other apps can be built on top of it. Maybe marketplaces turn into social networks of the metaverse, right? Like in the future.
Absolutely.
So there are a lot of moving parts there. Like with audio, we're thinking, okay, future of work, right? Like artists um, interact directly with their fans, right? And they earn through that, and they cut the middleman out. Like it's just there are so many moving parts, and so like we really try to think really high level about this whole like the entire space. We think like metaverse is gonna pull in sort of
Everything.
everything into it exactly.
It's
So
just gonna
it's
eat
like
it. It's
you
gonna
can
eat
make
it
the case
alive. Yeah. It's just gonna eat it,
exactly.
bro.
It's gonna take a while, I think, from like the technology aspect of it um, to get like that complete sync between reality and virtual reality, like in virtual worlds and so on. But like we'll get there eventually, and this is just it's just the beginning.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what the crazy thing about putting it all together here? It's like, okay, you got the sandbox, you got Decentraland, there's a few other Somnium, VR Space, there's a few others. Who knows which one is going to be the winner? I'm not sure there's going to be like, oh, clear winners. I think there's going to be different communities, some bigger than others. I don't know if being bigger is better or smaller is better. It doesn't really matter. I think if we actually look at communities like in the traditional gaming space, for example, you got people that are really, really, really into Smash Brothers from 10 years ago, and they do tournaments every single weekend, and that community is strong, very small, very strong. And then you got the new Smash Brothers from Nintendo that has a bigger community, bigger pool because it's a new thing, and it's also strong. But is it better because it's bigger? I'm not sure. So I think people are looking for clear winners, and I don't think it's necessarily gonna be like that. Although there are gonna be some that you can say, "Yo, no, that's a clear winner. That's a winner. That's the number one platform." But it doesn't really matter because every single one has like this essence that you're there for, and or you're not there for, right? You might not like that the way people kind of hang out in that platform, so you go to another one that is a little bit more your style. And the point I'm getting at is that when you put it all together, at the end of the day, if we want to go listen to music, we can go to a land plot in the Decentraland or in the sandbox, and there's gonna be somebody that will build literally a music store where you can just go listen to new music, and they are curators. It's like you walking into, I don't know, like a vinyl store, right? And you could do it in the metaverse, with your character, with your sandbox character. You go in, you click on the space, and it's a whole like music store where you're finding out about new music, and the music that is playing there is cool because it's curated by the owner of that music shop, and everything comes together at the end of the day. And Rarible as well. You might have a store, a physical digital store within the metaverse, within sandbox, within Decentraland, which we already have, right? We have casinos, we have Atari there, we have a bunch of stuff there. You can go in, art galleries. I mean, you could buy art on OpenSea or Rarible, or you could go buy it by having an experience in Decentraland, where you can go into an art gallery and kind of click through, right, into a curated space. So it all comes together at the end.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I think for me, if I could go somewhere in the metaverse and have someone curate new artists for me in the genre that of music that I love, right? Like I would love that. But let me take it a little bit further, man. Like imagine you're in Decentraland, right? And you're walking around, there's like a I don't know, it can be an art store, it can be like a sneaker store or a furniture store, right? And you go and you can buy something and you get an NFT, but then you can actually 3D print the real thing in your house, right? Like I think I think that's like mama, we're probably gonna get there. Like you can actually go and with augmented reality, VR, you can like imagine how, like, for example, a certain piece of furniture is going to fit in your house, and then you can 3D print it. It's, I think, like the possibilities are just endless, and humans do not think exponentially, right? Like it's
Linear.
hard for people to
Yeah.
to imagine
It's
that level of innovation and
interaction.
exactly. So I think we all, and honestly, like I say people don't think exponentially. I don't think exponentially. Like I'm
Not
sure in
enough.
5 years, 10 years, like I'm gonna be shocked. I'm gonna be like, I don't know what happened, but somehow we're here.
Yeah, that's the thing. The people that think exponentially don't really think exponentially. We can't. It's just it's a human error in a way. It's like the best we can do in exponentiality is say, who knows what's gonna happen in 10 years. That's the most you can say, because if you try to box it in that exponentiality, you lost already, right? If you say, no, this is gonna go like this and it's gonna happen this, no, what's gonna happen is that you don't know. That's what's gonna happen. And that's how I see things. So I totally agree. We just can't, you could calculate maybe like a couple months down the line, maybe a year, but the bigger picture, we just don't know. We just really don't know. This could go so many ways. Absolutely, it's insane. And to your point, reality, like actual physical reality, and the virtual reality, it's gonna merge. I mean, I'm part of a project right now which is called Uniquely, for example. That's where I'm gonna do my merch drop, and it's so cool because I do my merch drop. The merch drop itself is an NFT first. It's a digital NFT. Um, and then people can trade this shirt online. But if they want the physical form of that NFT, they would go burn it in the protocol, and then they would actually get the physical copy. And the burned NFT is actually on a QR code that you can read it, right, and see that that burnt NFT doesn't exist anymore. It's burnt because you don't want the physical living copy and then the NFT, because then you have like the double spending there, right? So you want to make sure that that NFT was burned so that that physical copy could be made. So that merge is happening already, right? The physical and the digital world. Uh, Very exciting.
Yeah, I've got to jump in on that because I'm like a massive believer in that's how it's going to go. For me, like the metaverse is. Some people talk about a metaverse being like Decentraland or Sandbox, or I think that's too limited. I think the blending of physical and digital reality that's where the metaverse comes from. It's like it's not really tangible. It's just those two things blending to the point where you can do things in either reality. You might do a transaction, like you said, on chain or virtually, and then you get a physical good delivered to your house, but it's recorded somehow on that you've had that transaction take place. The other thing that really struck me when you're talking about like walking into a virtual music store in, let's say, Decentraland, we're already seeing it with like artists like RAC and is it 3Lau or Blau? I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But instead of like, if you go into a record store or back in the day, a video store, it's probably a bit before your time, Kagi, but
Blockbuster is the closest.
video stores. You'd go in and you'd buy a physical copy of something or a CD or whatever it was. And, the store would take their cut, and the music studio at the end of it would get most of the money and the artist would get some. But now if you buy an NFT that represents that music, you're actually like owning the royalties that come in from that music as well. So that value is like totally portable, and also completely cuts out the middleman. And like Berto said, connects artists and their fans directly. So everybody gets what they want. The fans get much closer to the people that they love. And the artists themselves get to monetize much better the creativity that they've got. And then the blockchain allows you to actually continually like earn from that potentially, which is just something we've never really seen before because there's always been somebody to take a cut of it. So yeah, it's extremely exciting.
Yeah, that's exciting because there's so much. Every single piece of data is actually a currency within, especially in NFTs, right? Like you said, with the music, you could put so many things in it, right? And you could code so many cool things. I mean, I'm not a coder, but I just thinking like, okay, let's say you're an artist, you come out with this NFT music, and then inside that NFT you say, if this gets to, I don't know, 1 million plays, then this copyright, I will, do a giveaway between all the people that played this song, and I'll give away the copyright of this song through the people that actually played, right? There's a randomizer picks somebody. Now you won the copyright of that song. Now you own that copyright, because you could also sell the copyright if you wanted to as an artist, which is something that is very hard these days. I mean, you could own the piece of music, but another thing is to own the copyright. If you want to own a copyright of the Beatles or something like that, you would have to buy it's what I think they call it, the albums. You have to buy them, right? And they're very hard to get. It's not like you go online and you just buy it, right? It's through connections and stuff like that. And now you could do this. You could just kind of like come up with so many things. And same thing with gaming. If I have a character in the sandbox, in Decentraland, in whatever, I have this character, or even in Axie, I'm playing with this character. I put it to level 100. I spend so much time into it. Now that information, that time spent, that level means something, because I'm selling the level too. I'm not only selling the character, I'm selling the level. I'm selling what I worked on that character within. And that information it translates into a monetary value, which is crazy. And if you actually think about it in the traditional world of businesses, that's how it works. If I have a laundry shop, or I have a pizzeria that has an influx of 1 million people every single year, if I pass it on to another owner, what I'm really passing on, it's not only a business that does pizza. I'm passing on all the customers, all the good customer support, all that time that I put into my pizzeria. I'm passing it on to another owner. Now it's up to that owner whether they want to keep that level, right? Just like in Axie, right? If I have an Axie and I put it to 100 and I pass it on to another owner, I sell it to him, that new owner has to make sure he keeps that level or drops in level by playing bad. So that's another thing, right? He could actually devalue the Axie by not knowing how to play. So same thing with the pizzeria. You sell it, you sell all this value within, and then the new owner, is up to him whether he wants to keep up that level or kind of drop it down, right? So it's incredible that you can do that through an NFT now.
Yeah, I think like the next level from that is, let's say you had a pizzeria in New York, but you were moving to Chicago, right? Like, next level is that you can just port your pizzeria to Chicago. And that's when we get into interoperability between the games, right? Like between these different virtual worlds. Ability to take a character from one game into another game, ability to take some of your items, in-game items from one game to another, your skins, maybe some of your ammo, swords, whatever. I think that one, I'm like 50-50 on whether we're going to get there and how long it's going to take us. I think it's interesting to see the fragmentation of games by chain, right? Like Axie is building on Ronin, Illuvium is building on Immutable. There's a bunch of games that using Polygon, some are on Ethereum, like Sandbox is still on Ethereum. Engine are porting their entire platform to Polkadot. So it's like, you either need like really easy, intuitive bridges between all of those chains for interoperability, or you need them all to eventually converge onto the same chain. So I see like interoperability as being like an absolute requirement to unlock the full potential of like the metaverse. But I do see that there are some challenges there that we need to address.
Absolutely. I think there's many challenges. I think at a technical level, like you said, at a technical level, it really isn't that hard. I mean, it is hard. I'm just saying the idea is there, and the idea is already working if you actually think about it. And I'll give you an example. You guys have DeFi Pulse, right? DPI. And you guys have got Ren. I own a few Ren nodes, right? The Ren BTC is essentially what NFT interoperable between chains, between games would look like, right? You wrap this token, you send this Axie into this, Ren NFT protocol, bam, and then it mints it wherever you want it to go within X chain, right? And then when you return that token and you burn it in the Ren protocol, you return it to its original chain. In this case would be the running chain, and now you have the true token released, right? All decentralized. Now, the problem in the fragmentation, I don't think the bigger problem is not even like the chains. It's okay, different chains, whatever, this and that. I think the fragmentation comes from, projects having their personal, vision of their projects, jealousy, right? Human nature shit, jealousy or not even jealousy, kind of like self-worth, like, bro, we built for so long. I mean, I'll give you an example, and I'll kind of side with Axie Infinity here, but at the same time, not really, right? I'm both. I'm on both sides. I can see both. Axie Infinity has been building since 2018. They have this liquidity of players. Now they're gonna come and be interoperable with this new project, God knows who they are, that has barely even built, and now they're providing all that liquidity of players and fame and hard work just like that. Like, yeah, you can use our token, our Axie in your platform, and go ahead, man. Everything interoperable, because now there's people that are gonna try to leech of people that have worked hard as fuck. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, but I get that side, but I also want the other side, which is the interoperability, just easy to go, let everybody build with your, tokens, let people use it. So I'm on both sides. I'm like, what do we do about that, right? I think the technical side, we could get through that. Now, the human side of how you feel about different things, it's like, how do we get through that? I don't know.
Is that a specific example that is something that we've missed, or what are you referring to exactly there? It'd be good if you could expand on that a bit, because it sounds like quite an interesting challenge potentially.
What do you mean? The side of, for example, actually not going with another, not being interoperable with another game?
Yeah, it just sounded like you were referencing something that had actually happened, but I
Oh,
didn't
no, nothing happened. It's just Axie has been clear that their operability is vertical, not horizontal. So vertical meaning that they're gonna be like Pokemon or like Mario, that has many Mario games. You got Super Mario Bros, but you also got Mario Party. So yes, you're gonna be able to take your Mario Bros character into Mario Party, but you won't be able to take your Mario into a Sonic game. In this case, Sonic being the sandbox, right? You get what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I don't know their motivation behind doing that. I'm just thinking out loud here. Like, if the case was that they don't want to provide other games the ability to use their IP because they feel like maybe they grew too fucking big, too fast, that's understandable. Like, you don't want to give that clout to another new game just like that, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think it through. I guess they have to, because the way that they've set up the token economics and stuff, like they have to keep the play within the system constraints, I guess. Otherwise, like if people aren't using SLP and breeding Axies, then maybe it doesn't work as well. I guess I was thinking a bit more naively along the lines of, at the end of the day, underneath everything, it's just a smart contract. So in my head, I had pictures of like Axies going to Nifty Island or maybe appearing in Decentraland. And if you do a quest in Decentraland, you get like a party hat. And when you're Axie, you take it back to Axie Infinity. It's like it appears with the party hat on it. Like I was just thinking.
No, you can. But why would you do that as a project? Why would you build that if the team that originated with that IP is not really supporting you? Like,
I think everybody sort of win. You can win together though. Like the further you go out, the more value you can add, because you bring in new players as well as like allowing your own players to go off and do more with them, I think.
Yeah, like I think having axes as, like characters that you can take into a different game. I think that's cool. I think like the team will probably get there eventually. Like it's just not a priority, right? Like they got so much to focus on. It's really not a priority. I also think that, and I hope that with most games, they will eventually be turned over to the community, right? So the community should be able to make those decisions. With Axie, right? Like the roadmap, there is a roadmap for decentralization. It's like 2, 3 years out. Um, so perhaps when those games are turned over to the community can sort of make those decisions. But I do think that like we're still so early, and I understand like teams wanting to protect their IP, wanting to protect like their market share.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, there's going to be benefits from being interoperable, right? And like, let's say it's interesting because like Axie right now has so many more users than any other project. So it's like, okay, you can't really say that, okay, if someone is in Decentraland and they see like an Axie walking around, they're gonna be like, oh, like, I'm curious, let me figure it out. Like Axie's not going to benefit from that. There's not enough people in Decentraland to make a difference. But if
That's where I'm
Decentraland,
getting at.
if, like if Decentraland had 10 million daily, or like the same, if they had like 1 million daily active users, then you can say that like, okay, maybe 40% of our users, of our customers overlap, right? But if I put an Axie into Decentraland, the other 60% might find it interesting and want to check it out, want to come over and try out Axie. Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. Like, I would understand, a thought process. I don't know if that's their thought process, right? Like, I was just kind of like throwing it out there in a case where like right now, which they are in, like you said, they have more users. It's like, what is their incentive to be interoperable right now? Like, they have none, right? If anything, anything that anybody that wants to collaborate with them, it might even look like a leech in a way, out of their hard work. So, at what point is it okay to be interoperable? When is it not? Right? I don't know. Like technically, it's beautiful, right? Like holy shit. I always said like, why not? Take my Call of Duty skin into Valorant and take my Valorant skin into Battlefield, which these are FPS shooter games that I love playing, but that's never gonna happen, right? Not in the traditional world, but in this one, it's possible. But there's also like I said, like the human nature of the teams that might feel like, bro, like we have no incentive of doing that. We're not gonna give our liquidity of players to other games that have not worked as hard as us. Like we're not gonna give them that clout. We're not gonna give them that. They're so incentive for us to do it. So
Hey, I reckon that will be the metaverse equivalent of the middleman if you're not interoperable. And I'll tell you why. Because if you think about like punks, crypto punks, or any of the like profile pic NFT projects that are coming out now, if you look at those communities, one of the first things that they end up doing is like buying up billboards and trying to show off like in Times Square or whatever it is. I think the more options that you have to like show off what you've got, or go and use it in a quest or whatever it might be, I think all of that really adds value to the original project. So I think that teams that hold back and have a bit of a walled garden, I can see them shooting themselves in the foot if they do that.
okay, hey, I like that. I like that. I kind of feel the same way, right? I feel the same way. The idea is, when is it okay, right? When is it I don't know, because right now, and I keep going back to Axie because Axie is an important piece of the puzzle here right now, and if Axie validates a brand new game, like, oh yeah, we're gonna be interoperable with this brand new little game, and that brand new little game becomes, it's a shit game, shit team, shit community. I mean, Axie gets affected, and the token as well. So those are other things that you have to think about as well. while moving forward into interoperability, because people don't think necessarily like we're thinking, like, nah, it shouldn't affect it, right? I know the Axie team, we know them. These are premium people. They work hard. They do most of the things right. They try hard to please the community in many ways. We know them, but most of the people are just gonna be like, oh, I actually collaborated with this fucking scam game, and now Axie is affected. So where do you draw that line, where you allow your IP to be everywhere, right?
Do you know what's cool though? So, in terms of like the crypto space more generally, a lot of what goes on is like thousands of experiments of what works and what doesn't all the time, because there's so many projects, they're trying new things all the time. So, me and Verto spoke to Kieran from Illuvium just the other day, and we'll have our podcast coming out with him hopefully in the next couple of days. And he mentioned that they're looking at working with Gala Games to possibly skin up some of their alluvials in a game that Gala are working on. So what we're going to see is, if Axie are more restrictive and if Illuvium is more open, we're going to get a direct experiment taking place. And because it's so early on, we can actually figure out which one of those ends up doing better. And other games can take the bits that work and drop the bits that don't.
Absolutely. I like that. I fucking like that.
Yeah.
Look, I'm open to all this shit, right?
I would also say that, like, if you don't, like, there are two ways we can build, right? Like, you can build with interoperability in mind, or you can build without it. But then, like you said, Axie have been working on the game since 2018. How hard is it going to be to build in interoperability, like, in 2 years, right? Like, they've been working on the game for like 4 years at that point. So, like, it's much easier to build interoperability from the beginning, like when you're starting off, right? And so that's like, all of these things are part of the reason why, like, I'm not sure. Like, I think that's a barrier for, like, to reach the full potential of the metaverse, right? That's something that we don't see in the current system, right? Like, we don't see interoperability in the current system, and that's why we love crypto, and like that's why DeFi is so powerful, right? Because it's all composable. You can build blocks on top of blocks, and it would be quite frustrating, I guess, and a bit sad if we didn't have that in gaming and with like NFT projects and so on. I think it just unlocks so many beautiful use cases that it'd be a shame not to have.
I agree, man. I totally agree. I totally agree. But at the same time, I mean, if there's a few projects out there that are not interoperable, that's okay, right? I mean, not everything has to go in, right? In a way, not everything has to fit into the box, right? Like, I think that's okay. You got something like Sandbox that are doing their best, right? I was critical about the Sandbox at the beginning. A little bit too corporate for me, the way they handle things, which is weird because they're kind of corporate, but they're the ones doing the most interoperable things. And when I say corporate, it's just the way they handle their social media or like, it's just very, like, it feels like you're in a traditional company where, like, no, we have to tweet this. We, if somebody tweets about us, and, we don't retweet, we don't, it's very, like, kind of like, it's like a box, kind of like, this is our game plan. But at the same time, they're the ones that are doing the most interoperability across the board, right? They're collaborating with every fucking project out there. It doesn't matter who they are. Cyberconks, this one, the other one. And that's pure interoperability. You could be in the sandbox with that project, or you could be outside of the sandbox. The point is that that you can also be in the sandbox with that project. Guild of Guardians from Immutable X, right? Already has interoperability with the sandbox. I have my character that I'm going to be able to use in the Guild of Guardian game, but also that character, I can take it and it will mint me one on the sandbox as well. So that's interoperability, right? We've seen that already, and the sandbox is ahead of the curve with that. And there's some games that might not fit into that box, and I think that's okay too. I don't think every single one, as long as we have a majority that does fit into a big pool where you can do a lot of things. I think it's cool. You know.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a fair way to look at it as well. It's interesting that the way that you sort of frame that as well, because I think me and Verto have seen similar things. Like, obviously, we've got pretty close to some of these projects, and there's definitely a spectrum of which ones are more corporate and which ones are more like DAO first or community first. And yeah, we tend to find our way into the more community first ones a lot more easily, which is very interesting. So we're going to see how that plays out. I think that's another experiment that the metaverse space is running at the moment. Which one of these models is going to win out in the long term?
Absolutely. Look, one of the projects that you guys should look into is Aavegotchi. Aavegotchi, they're in collaboration with Aave. If there's any project that was interoperable from the beginning with DeFi, it's Aavegotchi. It's incredible. The fact that you take this Aave, the yield-bearing tokens, you inject it into one of these collectibles, and now you have like a savings account in a collectible that is generating some type of passive income depending on what yield-bearing token you actually choose. And then on top of that, you could play with the character. And then on top of that, they also have their Gotchiverse, which, you could play a lot of mini games. They're going to come out with land gameplay. But, and now they're in Polygon as well. And, that's one of those projects that from the beginning is actually the first project that actually implemented a DAO. And it works. Of course, the team has the most power. And I think that's okay. I think the one with the vision at the beginning needs the most power. Or not the most power, but the bigger weight. They have a big weight in votes. But if the community comes together, we could take out that vote. Usually that doesn't happen unless it's going to be something that the community is like absolutely pissed about, or the community really wants. It's like, everybody has to come in together so we can outperform the creators' vote, which is probably like, I don't know, I would say a 20-30%, But if the community comes together, right away that vote is turned over. But there's the first one that did a vote from the beginning. Just like kind of like Illuvium did it from the beginning. Aavegotchi did it from, early 2020. And it works like flawlessly. People propose, people vote. It's amazing,
Yeah. Yeah, no, we actually are big fans of Aavegotchi. We did have them in the initial drafts of the index in January and so on. But what happened is all of the liquidity, right, migrated to Polygon.
Mm-hmm.
And we rebalance and we sort of get into positions and exit out of positions on Ethereum. So it's challenging for us to put Aavegotchi, to put the Ghost token in, just because there is very, very low liquidity on
ERC.
Uniswap. Yeah, exactly. So I think at some point it's going to be interesting, right? Because some of the liquidity is going to move to sidechains and L2s for most tokens, and then we can sort of have most of our indices on those L2s or sidechains. I think there's a potential also we can use we can use QuickSwap on Polygon and then bridge that token and put it into the index on Ethereum. But for now, that's sort of the barrier for Aavegotchi for inclusion of that token. But yeah, we did have it in the beginning, and big fans of the team and the game and what they're doing.
Big team, man. A big team in mentality, it's crazy. For me, it's one of the most premium teams out there. I mean, to do this at such an early stage, right? Be a DAO game, have a DAO working right away, integrating with DeFi, something that people were just starting to understand. Like, how do you integrate a game with DeFi in July of 2020? That's crazy. Like, bro, didn't you guys know that people didn't know what DeFi was? How are you integrating a game so quick? That for me, that was mind-blowing. And Aavegotchi is the one that really got me into DeFi. trying to understand all these concepts that you have this Avid token that is a yield bearing token, and you lend it and blah 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 and all this crap. I was like, Abigachi got me into that. Of course, Axie got me into DeFi, a little bit more external, kind of like, okay, I earned the SLP. It's not really direct, and then I go to Uniswap and I swap it. But Abigachi is a DeFi game, like DeFi at its core. It's actually amazing. I don't think any game, no game has done that yet. Still, there's no game that you inject tokens into the NFT, and then if you take it out, then the NFT kind of burns. It doesn't work anymore, right? It's crazy.
Well, on Engine does that, right? Like you have
Right.
to
You have to
attach
inject
Eng to all of the items.
to
Exactly.
mint it. Yeah. That idea is there, for sure. But the actual engine token is not a yield bearing token.
Yeah.
You got the price action of the token for sure, but
Yeah. It's interesting, like what we see in the metaverse space was a lot of metaverse projects, right? Like very few teams have thought sort of deeply about the token design and the token economics at this stage. It feels still like very early. It feels like a lot of teams are still focusing on like the product, right? And like the liquidity of the token and the token design is just like it's still secondary. Um, and it's very different from DeFi. Like in DeFi, token economics are just
number one.
exactly, like you don't launch a token without token economics. In metaverse, you launch a token and it's like, well, we're still building the product, but hey, we have a token now. So and
I agree.
it
It's
and
crazy.
it's challenging because a lot of times you look at it and you're like, well, like the token meets all of the criteria, and it's like, and the project is good, but like the token doesn't do anything, and it's just like, and there's no like, and the team doesn't really think about liquidity, so like there is a chance that we might be affected in a way that like we might end up with a big position on Ethereum, right? And then the team decides to go to Polygon or a different sidechain, and we're like, okay, like we're sitting on $500,000 of token, and the liquidity is draining because the team is moving to a sidechain, and we need to exit that position. And it's just like it's frustrating, man. It's like
Yeah,
looking at
because
these
they didn't think
tokens.
about it before. Yeah, like you said, they're not thinking about all this stuff, and I would say it's a hard one too, because I think DeFi is not as dynamic as a game, right? The game, you gotta think about the NFT tokenomics, right? The look of the NFT. It's something that people are gonna like, right? The traits, and this is just the NFT side. And then what does the NFT do? Where do I connect it? Is it valuable? Are people gonna like me, taking my Axie or my Avagachi and doing this activity with it? Right, that's that. And then you got the token. How does this token play into the marketplace? Is a marketplace inside the game, or are we gonna use OpenSea? What are we gonna do? Like, there's so many moving aspects to this. When in DeFi, it's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's not dynamic. It's more like it's more linear, I guess. I don't know. It's like, okay, this is the product, right? We got the token, of course. We have liquidity on Uniswap, and that's it. Like you got the token, and whatever the project does this. That's it. Like you're not trying to kind of other moving pieces to it, right? I feel like the games are just a block that you just add more blocks. So many moving pieces. So I don't know. I don't really know the answer to all of this. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I think DeFi is less dynamic, as you said. I think like with games too, right? Like you can have a game today, right? But then like 6 months later, you can add things to it. It can be a different game. It could be expansion to the game that adds different utility to the token, or adds different utilities to the NFTs. Like if you look at Illuvium with like the main game and then the mini game, the land game that they're talking about, right? Like and how those are going to interact like economically. There's also this like super interesting concept of like these in-game tokens, right? Like SLP in Axie. I think like Illuvium, talking about like the fuel token in the mini game, and it's like if I'm thinking from the perspective of like managing an index product, right? It's like, okay, do I include an in-game token or not, right? Like technically, like it's not the same as AXS, right? Like it's very different. And so like, how do I think through that? How do I think through an in-game token? Can I have two tokens in the index that represent the same project, right? Like if they have different
True.
utilities. So it's really quite fascinating to kind of think through these problems and like the space, like the metaverse and the gaming space in general is just moving so fast.
What
Uh,
about NFT indexes? Is that something you guys thought about? Like a vault, right? With NFT indexes. I don't know if that's even like if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm just thinking here.
yeah, yeah, it's not like it's not how we structure indices at the moment. Like I don't think our infrastructure would support it, but like NFT Vault, right, is like similar to like Whale token is based on the NFT Vault, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
but something that we've been talking about, and I don't know like what's doable at the moment using our infrastructure, but like yeah, basically you have a vault and it holds land, right? Like across all the different games, different virtual worlds, and then it holds like um, game NFTs, right? Like he'll hold some Axies, he'll hold some Illuvials, he'll hold some racing cars from Rev, and so on, right? And you have it as a vault, and then you have a token representing that vault, right? But then it's like there are a lot of the structure of that is very different from what we do now, and there are a lot of questions that like we'd have to figure out to make something like that possible. But like when I think about the space, and I think like if I can give someone a token that they can buy that represents land across literally entire metaverse, like I would buy that token myself. Like I'm like, can someone build that for me, please? So yeah, I think it's definitely going to happen. I don't know if we're going to be the ones to do it, but it's
Damn.
definitely going to happen.
You're handing the project out to the community. There we go.
Yeah, if anyone's listening and wants to build it, please, please do so. Please reach out to. I'd be happy to help.
Yeah, man. I think it's very interesting, this space. It's a monster, dude. It's a monster. We're so early. We're so fucking early. I don't even know how to put it all together yet. Like I don't know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be amazing to see what's up. Definitely.
I think the going back a step a little bit just to what we were talking about just then, I think the good thing about all of this is that DeFi and the metaverse are coming closer together. So I think finance through DeFi is getting more gamified, and games are opening up a financial aspect. So, Kagi, you mentioned it yourself. Like, you play Axie and you get SLP, and you're like, "Oh, what do I do with this? Like, I don't want to just hold this because it goes up and down, and who knows why half the time." So you go to Uniswap and you trade it for something else, maybe some stable coins, maybe some ETH. Depends on what you're thinking. So what this is doing at a high level is, I really hope, opening up people's eyes to finance and understanding their own finance, and understanding how to manage money, and how markets work. And when you can start to break down these walls, and well, using the word wall, like when you think of Wall Street, like those guys have got a monopoly on how all of this works because they understand it inside out. They control the game. But blockchain, NFT games, and DeFi, like that, just you rip the clothes off the emperor, and you see that he's, emperor's got no clothes basically. So you can take charge of everything yourself. So I think that's, like, people like yourself, like me and Verto, our job here over the next few years is to help people understand that all of this stuff meshes together and how it works in the background, and show them that there's this whole world of possibilities,
I
and just
love
make
it.
sure that people have the right tools to really like utilize all this stuff for their own personal benefit, really.
I love what you said there. You know, we have a job here to do, and for all the crap that I say on Twitter and whatever, at the end of the day, I love teaching, man. I get high out of teaching. For me to teach somebody to go from Ethereum into Polygon, I done that video at least 10 times for different projects, and I could easily make one fucking video how to go from Ethereum into Polygon using the bridge, and I could link that video every single time there's a new project and people need to learn how to do it. I could do that, but I enjoy doing it every single time. Like, okay, guys, this is how you do it. You go into the Polygon product, a bridge. Don't worry about it. Don't be scared. Just, you know, if you want to try a little bit, you know, put a little bit into the bridge, sign the transaction, and then a few minutes later, it's, you know, now you have it on the Polygon, you know, network, and then go back and forth. That teaching, I would do it 1,000 times. Because I want people to learn the hard way, not this easy way. Because once everything is easy, you're not really learning anything. That's the truth. Once everything is just smooth, and at some point we're going to get there, but once everything is smooth, you're not learning the technicalities behind it, you know, the problems that, once you understand all these problems, it gives you a better heart when you go into new projects and somebody's building something, and you're like, why is the project not out? What do you mean there's an issue with the protocol? Like, because you're not going to understand it. But understanding it yourself by doing the job yourself and, you know, kind of going into this technical problems by yourself gives you a better understanding of the space. Absolutely. So I love it. I love it. We have a job here to do, and that is a job. Kind of like teach people, you know, how deep this goes, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think like when someone in like an emerging country, right, like they start playing Axie, for example, and they earn some SLP, and they're like, well, what the hell is SLP, right? Like I need to convert it into ETH because then I can take it out. And they're like, okay, how do I do that, right? And they start looking into Uniswap. I'm sure that Running is going to have their own DEX, but like they start digging into it, and if like every person I know who started digging into Ethereum, like that person never came out, right? Like they just went so far down and they start trying to like understand like, the monetary policies and like what is the Fed doing and who's printing money and like all of that stuff. And it's just like so valuable. And what's what I hope that like we can do at Index, right, is like, okay, someone starts to understand that and they start to understand like the value of actually investing early, right? Like the return on capital versus return on labor, right? And like how, like what are the differences between those? And it's just like for me thinking about like, okay, someone can be in Africa playing Axie making SLP, and then they can go and they can buy like a synthetic Netflix stock or like Tesla stock, right? On Ethereum. Like how awesome is that? Like when was when was the last time someone in Africa had the opportunity to own a piece of like American economy, right? Like
Or the
it's
world economy, as a
exactly
matter of
like
fact. Yeah. In this case, yeah.
it's it's going to be fascinating. In my mind, like every single asset we have in the world is going to end up on chain eventually, right? Like,
Absolutely.
and that farmer in Africa or that person in the Philippines, if they want to buy like a fractionalized real estate of global capitals, right? Like across London, New York, Tokyo, Sydney, whatever, they'll be able to do that. And it's just like that's just so empowering, and like that gets me really excited. And it does come to like education and teaching, but it's like giving people tools to learn and then sort of take care of their finances. And it's amazing that like we are in a space that gives people opportunity to do that, and like we're in a position where we can sort of help in whatever small way that we can.
Yeah, man. Look, let me look. What you said there is amazing to me because every single asset in the world is gonna be digitized into the blockchain. It's gonna be there. It's gonna be tokenized. And when I say every single asset, I truly mean every single asset. Look, my parents come from they sell art, right? They have an art gallery. We had art galleries for, you know, I grew up in an art gallery. My house was half art gallery, half house. right? And it was really cool because I saw assets that are very similar to NFTs. They're not very liquid. They're very hard to rug pull. It's like they have this value that a group of people understand it, and it takes time to sell. And you gotta really believe in it. You gotta see more than what it is at face value. Oh, a piece of art, right? You gotta understand the artist. You gotta understand what kind of attitude the artist has towards life. That would help you understand whether you want to get into that type of art. Because if the artist is struggles with a lot of things in life, that might be something that you're looking for in an artist. You're like, if he struggles, he's not gonna make a lot of these, so maybe I'll buy this. Or if he doesn't struggle and he's kind of like happy artist that can communicate with everybody, you're like, oh, I kind of like this kind of artist that can go out there, go to parties and stuff like that, and kind of like push his art like a business. So maybe you invest in that. There's many ways to invest in art for many different reasons. But the point is that you could put a Mona Lisa on the blockchain. It will require a middleman in that case, right? You lock it into a vault, physical vault, then you mint an NFT against that vault, and now you have the Mona Lisa trading on the blockchain. And then when you actually burn that NFT, bam, you could claim that Mona Lisa and get it shipped to your home, which is something kind of like what Uniquely is doing. You could actually send a piece of art to the Uniquely physical vault. They'll verify that piece of art and they'll mint a 1-to-1, and then you could trade that token, right, without having to move the physical form. And then whenever somebody actually wants it in their house hanging, they'll burn that token and receive the physical form shipped to their house. In that case, it's a middleman, but still, I think everything is going to be tokenized. Absolutely everything.
Yeah, you can even go one step further than that and fractionalize that NFT as well, like something like NFTX or NFT20. And then again, you've got that case where people all over the world can buy that portion of it. And it means they're not left out. Like, blockchain isn't going to solve all of our problems, but one thing I think it really does well is reduces the wealth inequality. How like the rich are still getting richer and the poor are staying where they are or getting poorer. But if you can buy that Manhattan real estate, even if you can only afford a few dollars of it, that couple of dollars will appreciate at the same rate as everybody else who's holding the same piece of real estate. And the same for the Mona Lisa, or whatever it might be. So it means you're no longer losing out compared to everybody else. You can at least keep pace with everybody else, which is something that I don't think we've seen before.
I think it's reducing the inequality of opportunity, right? That then leads to the reduction in actual inequality, like income inequality and net wealth inequality and so on. So that like everyone is equal, right? Like everyone is equal in blockchain. Everyone has access to the same investments, and that's what blockchain does really well.
That's that's amazing, because that's one of the things that I always said on Twitter. I always tweet some BS, but one of the things that I stick by is like, you can't cancel me because I can go to Uniswap and Uniswap my way to the top in terms of economics. You can't stop me, right? In the traditional world, you say something that is kind of like, we don't like it, you don't have a job in the industry. This is like, for me, blockchain is not like, oh, the blockchain industry. No. It's the world. The blockchain is the world. That's it. Like, everything is blockchain. So, you can't really take me out of the world. And that's amazing. It's good and bad sometimes, right? Because there are bad actors that could keep farming in the blockchain, but I think it's mostly good, right? It's mostly good, and I think it's important to start asking to people to not be anonymous, right? Moving forward, especially with gaming projects, because we have those farmers that would pop into a project, scam you, disappear for a few months, and go into another one and just kind of like farm that. Because everybody's allowed to participate, you also open the possibilities to the bad things. But I think it's mostly good.
You're speaking to two guys who've turned up anonymous today, so
yes. But I always say, for the people that are anonymous and already set a track record, you don't have to be like, yo, I need to see your face, That's that. You guys already made it in the anon world. But I think setting a precedent and being okay with anon for too long, what's gonna happen is that people with 10K, 15K, I could start up a project right now that looks absolutely beautiful. I can make a video, pay somebody in China, in India, through Fiverr or whatever, make me a 3D looking game that is gonna be amazing, design me this stupid tokenomics, and in 1 month I can literally make 3, 4, 5, 6, $10 million like nothing right now. And that is very dangerous, right? So that's where I'm getting at,
Yeah, we've seen a few of those in the last year and a half, I think. But there's some projects in DeFi that are starting to work on that, and on-chain identities, even like yield farming passports. There's a project called ArcX who are studying whether people have like dumped tokens or kept them after yield farming them, and they're going to give preferential yield farming rates to people who have exhibited the right behavior. So there's all sorts of interesting ways to solve that. Yeah, so check that one out, I think, if you haven't seen that already. What I was going to jump in and say earlier was I've seen the Kagi tweets of no NFT, no play, of course, but I haven't seen I'm going to Uniswap my way to the top, so I'll have to start using that one. I like it.
Oh yeah, I've been saying it for a while. I'm like, look, you can take me out of Twitter, you can take me out of YouTube, you can take me out of anywhere, but guess what? I will Uniswap my way to the top. There is no stopping me, right? So that is it's a powerful idea that no matter what happens, you can Uniswap your way to the top easily, right?
I want to see that on a t-shirt, mate. Some merch for that one.
That's a good one. I could probably mint that one, yeah, with uniquely. I'm doing no NFT, no play. The next one, I'm going to think about that one. Uniswap my way to the top. Absolutely. And you know what? Now that I think about it, something that projects can do is people can ask, you don't have to, you could be anon. That's cool. But whatever money is invested, instead of being available right off the bat, projects need to have this protocol where it kind of gives it to the owner of the protocol or the project little by little, kind of like a vesting, right? Which a lot of projects do that, right? The serious ones, they vest their tokens little by little over time. But this new little projects, how can they do that? They're something that is already designed for everybody. No, you have to be using this model, right? This model, if that we pay you in Ethereum for that NFT, but that Ethereum, it's released to a certain wallet over time so that they don't just cash out and leave, right? So they're stuck with the project, right? So it incentivizes for them to build.
Yeah, there's definitely some different ways around it. But again, it comes back to that education thing as well, making sure that people can see the red flags and don't fall into the traps of throwing too much money at stuff that maybe looks a bit dodgy. So yeah, there's a few different ways, I think.
Yeah, man. I've thrown around a lot of money. I still haven't gotten scammed. Only on OpenSea, but that was a mistake. That was just me, a mistake. But I still haven't gotten scammed. I think I have a pretty good sense of smell of projects. But yeah.
Do you share that with the community? Do you share that with your community?
What?
Your intuition for stuff. Do you get into it with the community and discuss stuff?
I do. I do try to kind of teach intuition, something that you can't really teach because it's very there's a lot of moving elements. Some of them you can calculate it, okay, talk to the founder, right? You can really calculate this in a way that makes sense. Talk to the founder, ask some questions that you might be kind of wary about, right? And see what they answer you, the way they answer you. You can right away smell if they have no idea what the fuck they're saying, and you can smell also whether they're bullshitting you, right? It's hard, but you could kind of calculate this stuff, and that's why the more projects you get into, the better. I could go into projects right now, and as soon as they answer me in a certain type of way, which I can't explain sometimes, it's like, nah, this is not right. This is not it. And sometimes founders are so blatantly honest that I love it. Nah, bro, like, look, we still don't know what we're gonna do with that. We're thinking about it. We're throwing ideas about this, and that. We're not sure, and I'm okay with that. I'd rather have that than being like trying to sound like you know what you're doing, and not really knowing. And those are like little cues that it's just not easy. It's not really that easy. There's a lot of cues that you gotta kind of learn how to pick them up. Some of them are easier. Some of them are a little bit more into the intuition side. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I got rugged by Andre on the Eminence thing. I don't know if you were into that. That was going to be an NFT project.
Eminem.
Eminence. Eminence.
Eminence.
That was that was supposed to be a card game. I don't know what happened to it, but yeah,
it was a while ago.
Happens to the best of us. Yeah, it was. It was probably October last year, maybe.
Damn. Is this guy like a serious person?
Yeah, this is Andre from Yearn Finance.
Really, man.
Yeah, it wasn't malicious. I think there was an exploit. It happens in DeFi.
Mm-hmm.
No code is perfect, I guess. But yeah, something to learn from, for sure.
But the project wasn't even released, man.
Yeah, I was interacting with Etherscan directly, so it's my fault.
And you sent tokens directly to Etherscan smart contract, man.
Yeah, it was about $100, so I lived to tell the tale. It wasn't too much, luckily.
Damn, bro, that's crazy.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, I hope it never happens to me, but it could happen. And that day is gonna be a party for the haters. They're just waiting for Kagi to make a mistake and be like, "We told you not to talk about this projects like this because you." And it's like, I can't help it if I'm excited about a project. I'm not gonna stop. I'm in a tough position now. It's like it's there's responsibility with like being myself. It's like, fuck, man, so annoying.
And you can always. Oh, go on. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that, like, in the bull market, it almost sometimes, like, it pays off not to do research and just ape. Now, like, only in the bull market. And in the bear market, obviously, you need to do your research. But like, I've seen like so many projects just go up so much, and you're like sitting there being like, yeah, I looked into it and I didn't quite like the look of that or look of that, and it's just like, in the bull market, it just doesn't matter. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at this project, Crypto Blades, right? Everybody was, I covered it at the end of the day because people were literally messaging me, bro, you need to cover Crypto Blades, you need to cover. Then they sent me a request, like, bro, cover Crypto Blades from the actual team. Like, we'll give you this, and that. I'm like, fine, okay, I'll cover it because people are asking for it. I rejected the request at first, and then they came back with the request. I guess people were going ham on them as well. Like, yo, we need to get Kagi on this. So the point is that I ended up doing a video on it. It's not a scam or anything, but I wasn't convinced on it. And when I told people, like, guys, this is not normal that a token that just released and a game that still doesn't have a track record goes up this much. It's not normal. This is not a normal. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, okay, I'm just saying. I've been in too many projects. This is just not normal, right? And I was going against the whole wave, and of course the token crashed down. It just didn't make sense, right? No, the project is bad. No, it's just people are not seeing it through. They're not thinking. They're not thinking. I usually, when I pump a project, it's because I thought about it. Like, I really thought about, and I really think it does have a lot of potential. I pumped Cyberkongs, Crypto Beast, the Chicken Derby. I mean, these are projects that I would die by a tweet right now. Like, I'll die on that hill, right? Because I really do believe that they are good projects. But there's some out there that I don't go with the wave. And I look weird not going with the wave. Maybe some people might think like, oh, he's just hating. I'm not. It's just I really sometimes think people are not thinking. They just go through, like you said, the bull market. People just go. but I try to do my deepest research on my side that I can.
I think it's pretty refreshing to have somebody like that, and we've seen that your channel has grown. Obviously, your community has grown, and it doesn't seem to have gone to your head yet. So that's great. That's great news. And I think like you do an awesome job of just being transparent and honest. So if you can keep that up, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it has not gotten into my head. That's the thing. I think it has. I think it has, but not in a way that it's like, oh, I'm the shit. Whatever I say, it's like I now have to put this wall, and it's a bigger wall than ever. Like I have to be almost more of an asshole than I was before, because if I don't stand by clearly by the things that it was easier for me to stand by before. If I don't do it now with a harder kind of like mentality or like, I don't know if it's mentality, but like a harder kind of wall, like that people can see there's a wall there and you can't fuck with Kagi. If I don't do that, it's almost like people take it down too quick, right? For example, I used to say Axie is the best game out there. That game is gonna have millions of players, all this stuff. And it was easy because there was only a few people kind of going against it. It was easy. But if I say that now about a new game, you got a wall, an influx of people saying, shut up, you're just pumping that game, you're a scammer, or whatever, this and that. And now I look more of an asshole. It's almost like I have to be. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, I believe this. Leave me alone, right? And now it looks like I'm more over my head than I really am. But I think it has affected me in some way, for sure, like the growth. So yeah, I don't know if you understand what you I don't know if you understand what I said there, but yeah, it's like
I get it, and I think it's interesting for us to kind of hear your perspective, because we're sort of pretty low key with what we're doing, and obviously when we approached you, like you were doing pretty big numbers, but obviously that's kind of exploded even since then. So yeah, it's not something that we've experienced ourselves, and yeah, fair play to you for handling it and staying true to your values. I think that's something really important in blockchain generally. Like the whole point of a blockchain is openness, transparency. Like anyone can look at how it works and know that the code is the law, basically. And people who represent those values, I think, do well in the space if they're open, transparent. They say what they're going to do, and then they go and do it. So I think that's really good.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited to see what you guys how you guys are gonna like develop this MVI token, because of course there's a lot of value you guys still haven't captured, and of course you guys have your record seeds and your kind of spectrum into how to find tokens. But there's a lot of them out there, man, that I'm excited for, and I wish you guys can in the future maybe jump into other blockchains, not necessarily. I don't know if you guys are Ethereum maxis or something. I don't know, but but maybe bring other values from Solana. Solana with Star Atlas now and Aurora project. These are two big projects that are absolutely in my opinion gonna be key projects in the space. Also in Polygon, like the Chicken Derby, they'll drop their token in the future, right? To the chicken holders. Maybe that's something, it's gonna be like the next Z run, in my opinion, even bigger than Z run. I don't like to compare projects. Everyone kind of has their own essence, like we talked about earlier, but just for reference, there's a lot of games and projects out there that that might not be on Ethereum directly. So I don't know if you guys are thinking about that.
Yeah, at the moment it's just purely like infrastructure. It's difficult in terms of engineering complexity as well. Bridges are a fairly new thing. I think Solana's going to open up a lot of bridges over to Ethereum. Like we see Rune come online, and obviously the Ethereum interoperability opening up as well. But yeah, it's not going to be something that happens overnight. I think we'll look to capture it when we can. But yeah, it's a case of like engineers figuring out how to actually do this stuff fairly risk-free, and then we can start to look at it.
I think there's like also just in terms of adding more projects, I think there's like on Ethereum specifically, there's probably a ceiling to how many tokens we can put into the index, just in terms of we rebalance monthly, right? And if there's like 20, 25 tokens, that could get costly. Like once we deploy on Polygon, that could be okay. But I think like the gaming space itself is getting quite big, so maybe that's our like next, maybe that's our next product that's focused specifically on gaming
Gaming
and
tokens.
gaming tokens. This is going to be big, right? And like Metaverse is much bigger than gaming, but gaming as a space is going to be massive on its own. There's so many gamers in the world, and eventually they'll come to NFTs, they'll come to blockchain, and yeah, we do need to think about it. We haven't thought about it yet, but we did think about like, okay, we can take the Metaverse index and then we can spin out indices out of it that focus on more niches within the Metaverse, right? Whether it's like, I don't know, it can be marketplaces or infrastructure, like NFT infrastructure or gaming and so on. So
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for this. You guys can literally make an index in the future for different genres within gaming as well. Like once it gets so big that you have 100, 200, 300 games that are card games, then you could be like, okay, we'll take 20 of those and see, do an index on card games, and then shooting games, and then MMOs and stuff like that. You could just expand so broad into this, like kind of like a different vertical of indexes. Crazy.
yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of white space. I think we're gonna have we're gonna have to figure out a few things.
All right, man. I think we kind of hit the hour here. Holy crap, hour and a half. No way. What
Yeah,
the
that
fuck?
went quick, man. That was good fun.
Yeah, man, we talked about a lot of things here. Thank you guys. I haven't had a conversation like this in a while, to be honest. It's more been like this war of, I don't like this project. Your project sucks. This. This is a good conversation to have. It kind of refreshes your mind and um, puts you
Well,
on track.
MVI loves everybody, so yeah, no hate here.
All right, man. Well, thank you guys for doing this. Let me kind of finish this off right here. Guys, thank you for watching. I know an hour and a half. If you made it this far, thank you so much. I appreciate it. This was a conversation basically about everything that has to do with the metaverse, our thoughts. We went off into different things. So thank you so much. Make sure you check out the MVI token, the Indexcoop as a whole. I think they're building very, very nice financial products, especially for the people that, don't want to necessarily go into all these tokens and kind of like stress about it, because it is a stressful environment, especially if you're not in it 24 hours a day. And if you're 24 hours a day, it's even more stressful, to be honest. Just like, I'm in it 24 hours a day. This is super, super stressful. I love the stress, but it's stressful to keep up with all these tokens. And I think MBI can do it all. And DPI. I use DPI for the DeFi side, so I don't have to capture all that value by myself going token to token. So thank you guys for doing this. I appreciate it. If there's any last words you guys want to say, go ahead.
No last words. Obviously, you can find Indexcoop on Twitter. You can find Documenting MVI account on Twitter that sort of talks about some of the key things about MVI. We also try to put out regular content like articles, as well as occasional podcasts here and there on Meta Portal, which is our Substack. So yeah, also have a Discord, obviously. So do jump into Discord. You can ask us questions. We're here to help, and we're here to sort of make investing in Metaverse as easy as possible. And thanks for having us, Kagi. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Verto covered everything there. I just want to say thanks for having us on. It was great just to have a chat about whatever came into our heads, really.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I love the most about it. They're very
Yeah.
nice.